see it all the time in business where the folks that quit, and you have no, you don't know if like what the wall moving would eventually have been, but they quit in December of 2019 and they go and do something else, completely give up on that dream. They're not even looking for opportunity at what they were doing anymore. It's going into doing something else. I would say that is 75, 80, 90% of businesses at some point get to that point where the wall's just not breaking down and they give up on it. It's called the Pike Effect. And once they give up on it, they block it out of their mind. The effort's gone. They're not even going to chase. And then when the dream is right there in front of their face, like the pike, when the glass divider was up, he's given up. He's defeated. Doesn't care. I'm not eating these fish. I'm going to starve to death because I can't eat those fish. In his mind, I can't do it. Welcome to Burning the Ships podcast, and I'm your host, Jason Seward. And today, this will be a solo episode, and I'm going to talk about something that I heard recently. It's actually a book that I've been reading that referenced this, and then I researched it a little bit further. Just to dive out, I get topics like this online through other resources, and then get obsessed with them. So I wanted to bring it here to the podcast. So you may or may not have heard of the Pike Effect, P-I-K-E, the Pike Effect. And so for the last several days leading up to recording this, I've just been obsessed with this idea. And I wanted to try to get on here and kind of articulate it through my perspective. So the Pike Effect, I'll tell the story and kind of the study that sets this up, and then I'll talk about how it applies to us as humans. But there was a research study done. I don't know when. I haven't done that research to figure out all the details around it, but the story goes that a researcher took an aquarium, a fish aquarium, large glass aquarium, and he put a divider, a glass divider. So, it's completely see-through, but a glass divider in the aquarium to cut it in half. So we got the aquarium filled with water, half of it on one side of the divider, half on the other. And on one side, he puts a pike. So a pike, for those who don't know, is a very aggressive fish, sharp teeth. They'll eat all the other little fish. They're, very aggressive fish. And so he's got on one side of the divider this pike. And on the other side, you put your regular like goldfish, betta fish, whatever other kind of aquarium fish you'd see in there. So the fish tank now has a pike on one side, super aggressive, ready to eat everything in sight, and then all these little docile fish on the other side just hanging out doing fish things. Well, first day, the pike is slamming into the glass, trying to get to these other fish, hammering the glass. Second day, same thing. He's hammering the glass very aggressively, like to the point where he's hurting himself trying to break through and get to these other fish. Third day, same thing, starting to dial it back a little bit. He's getting a little discouraged. Fourth day, day after day goes on, he's still just beating up this glass, trying to go after these fish. Well, eventually he stops. He stops hammering into the glass because, there's glass there. There's something preventing me getting to them fish. So I'm not even going to try anymore. I can't get through. I've given up. So he starts swimming off on, and this is a real experiment. So, this is a very real scenario that I'm describing. The pike eventually just goes to his side of the fish tank and just starts swimming. He's hungry. And anybody that loves animal, loves fish, I'll forewarn you that this is not going to be a happy ending for the pike. But over time, over several days, he just kind of goes off to the other side of the fish tank, doesn't go anywhere near this glass divider that he doesn't know is glass. To him, it looks like water going straight through, but he just keeps getting resistance. And he just kind of settles on that side of the fish tank. Well, after several days of this, the pike kind of just hanging out on his side of the fish tank, never going after those little fish anymore. The researcher removes the divider. So now it's a wide open area, right? That pike could easily go over there and eat every single one of those little fish. Well, the little fish start going right on through where the divider was, and they're swimming around the pike. and several times, like brushing up against the pike as he just sits there kind of swimming around in his own little world. He doesn't make a move to try to eat them. Doesn't do anything. Several days go by. Eventually, the pike starves. He dies. He's done. Game over. Little fish go on living happily ever after. So, this is where the pike effect comes from. That pike was trying to go after something. He had a goal, he had a need, and he was aggressively going after that goal over and over and over, like slamming his head against the wall, trying to break through a brick wall, right? Or a barrier that was there, a roadblock, whatever you want to call it. In his case, a water block. And he eventually got so discouraged after trying over and over and over, he just gave up. He said, I can't get through. So, and, making the analogy to a human saying, I can't do this because this barrier is there. So I'm just going to go over here and continue doing what I normally do and just swim around and not worry about it anymore. Well, he didn't try anymore. So he didn't go after that. He thought those little fish were unattainable. That was his goal, to get those little fish to feed himself, to keep doing what pikes do. We couldn't get it. So now those little fish become unattainable, and he's not only not interested, but it's just not something in his mind that he can obtain. So you remove that barrier. Now the barrier's gone. He doesn't know that. He just still sees the fish and thinks they're off limits to him because he couldn't push through that barrier, and he dies. Now, all of us, every single person listening to this episode right now has experienced this in some form or fashion, whether it be through sports, whether it be through work, your careers, business, trying to grow a business. It could be through something physically, like trying to lose weight, trying to gain weight, trying to build muscle, trying to diet, exercise, whatever it is. Every single thing you do in life that has a goal at the end of it, requires work to get to it, you face resistance. Sometimes it's very little resistance, it's easy to get through, but sometimes it seems insurmountable. You can't get through it. And more times than not, humans end up just like this pike did. Not all the way to death, sometimes to death in extreme cases, but oftentimes to the point where they just give up before that barrier eventually just breaks down for them, right? Because of their either through their persistence of trying to break it down, or a stroke of luck or something like that, but they give up before some kind of breakthrough happens that would get them to that goal, right? That happens over and over and over every day, more times than not, to humans in life. It's happened to everybody listening to this. You've given up on something in your life you have given up on too soon. And the result was, what was causing you to give up was resistance, a barrier. And I'm going to make some analogies as I go along, but that barrier made you think either A, this isn't worth trying anymore. That goal that I wanted is not, in my mind, worth the effort of trying to push through this barrier anymore. So I just give up. I'm not going to try anymore. Or B, you didn't continue trying, in the sense that you gave up on trying because you gave up on trying because you didn't see the value in the goal, or you convinced yourself the goal wasn't big enough to keep trying, or B, you truly believed that you could not break down that barrier. It was not going to remove itself or be removed by you. So you give up. So a couple analogies. And I'll stick to like my personal life and my business life, because I know that best, so I can use these analogies to make it make sense. I'll go back to my mom, and I'll go back to my childhood. My mom, more than most people, faced a lot of resistance a lot of barriers in her life, especially in her older life. She went through a lot. Really, back to her teenage years, she was involved in a tragic car accident when she was 16 years old that her best friend passed away in, right? So she was facing adversity quite early that ultimately led to her facing more adversity through school. She wasn't able to finish high school because of some issues that came on the heels of that accident. And so she was in an uphill battle uh, at an early age. Then she met my father, um, which, obviously, I mean, she met him when she was 18, 19 years old, got married young, had me. I was, I wasn't long after that meeting. So I think she had me when she was 20. Um, but that started a path of a lot of resistance in life for her, and resistance a lot not curated by her from that point on. It was curated by just some challenges that my dad put her through. Thankfully, they stuck around together long enough to have me, my sister, and my brother. So that was a good result of that. But not long after all that, my dad was just kind of out of the picture, and she was on her own. So she had financial resistance in life, compared to the fish tank. Every path she took, there was just barriers there, right? And my mom, unlike the Pike, never gave up trying, right? And that the motivation for her, obviously, was us three kids, right? So there was, but for the Pike, the motivation was to survive. He had to eat to survive, but he just gave up because he didn't think it was possible. The barrier was there, right? So he gave up on it. Her motivation was making sure we survived and we were happy and thriving and stuff like that. But to make that analogy, the glass wall was always there, right? She kept running into resistance with trying to earn an income to take care of us, but also raise us and be with us and all these things. She was constantly facing barriers. She never gave up. Not only did she never give up, she had the mindset of nothing's going to knock me down. I'm not going to stop trying. Like it's the mosquito that won't go away at life. That's how she was. She was life's mosquito. You're not going to knock me down. You're not going to knock my kids down. So she approached it, unlike the Pike, where the Pike was aggressively hitting the glass wall, life, whatever you want to call it, over and over and over, and finally threw his hands up like, God, I'll never get here. So she was doing the same thing, but you couldn't knock her down. She was going to come back the next day and the next day. And what did that lead to for her? She went on to, while having three kids at home, while being a single mother, figure out a way to work, go to night school, nursing school, which she ultimately completed and became a nurse and a registered nurse, which later, ended up being the bulk of her career as a nurse. But she went to night school, worked, never, ever missed a ball game. My brother and I played baseball. My sister had her activities as well. My mom never missed any of it, none of it. We never missed anything. Always provided for us, all those things, because she just was resilient and would not quit. And she never made us feel like things were bad. It was always, it's getting better. Things are getting better. Let's stay positive. Things are good. I'm fine. Y'all are fine. We're good. We are strong. We're positive. So unlike the Pike, she never quit, right? And then when the glass wall came up, she ate every one of those little fish. And that's what came later in life because of her persistence. As we got older, things did start getting better, right? She eventually remarried. And now my mom, because of her persistence and resilience and ability to not give up on trying to go through that wall, she has a great life now. And that was because of all that. And we always had a great life because of everything she did, but we're thriving as well, following in her footsteps, not giving up at things. So that's one example. Now, on the other side, and I see this a lot in business, we all do, anybody that is in and around business, folks that are trying to get something up and going. And let's say it's any business. You can insert whatever business you or industry you want to think of here, but it's a business that requires persistence. You got to either sell yourself or sell something or convince people to believe in you. A lot of potential barriers and roadblocks and glass walls there that you are going to face, right? And I think of about a year ago, I had Dan Oliver from Dano's Seasoning on the podcast, and I think about his story of, now everybody knows him. COVID hit. He popped off on TikTok and Instagram and all that, and he is a mega corporation now, right? But leading up to that, he was not. He had this idea, and he wouldn't quit on it. He would not quit. He kept pushing, kept pushing, kept pushing to try to catch those little fish, and eventually a wall broke down for him. That wall just so happened, coincidentally, some other wall would have broken down, but for him, it was COVID hit, which was bad for a lot of people. But for him, it ramped up people being online and paying attention to social media and stuff like that. And he just caught a wave, built up a big following, and then ultimately started selling his product at a higher clip. And now he is what he is today. So had he, let's say he had given up and shut the doors on his dreams December of 2019, right? Just as I'm done, I'm gonna go get a job in January of 2020, and I'm giving up on my dream. I'm not gonna keep trying to chase these little fish on the other side of the tank. Well, if he had done that, then 3 months later, he would have never realized that wall, that glass divider being pulled up by COVID hitting, essentially, and he would have never realized that dream coming to fruition. So that's a great example, but we see it all the time in business where the folks that quit, and you have you don't know if like what the wall moving would eventually have been, but they quit in December of 2019 and they go and do something else, completely give up on that dream. They're not even looking for opportunity at what they were doing anymore. It's going into doing something else. I would say that is 75, 80, 90% of businesses at some point get to that point where the wall's just not breaking down and they give up on it. It's called the Pike Effect. And once they give up on it, they block it out of their mind. The effort's gone. They're not even going to chase. And then when the dream is right there in front of their face, like the pike, when the glass divider was up, he's given up. He's defeated. Doesn't care. I'm not eating these fish. I'm going to starve to death because I can't eat those fish. In his mind, I can't do it. So it brings up the word can't. And I've talked, it's been a while, but I've talked a lot on this show about my relationship with the word can't. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. It is, I'd rather, and my kids know this, and I don't want to hear them saying the F-bomb around the house either, but I'd rather hear them drop the F-bomb in my house than the C word. And I'm not talking about another C word. I'm talking about CAN''T. That word is not allowed in my house. When I'm coaching my kids' sports and I hear other kids say it, I'm quick to call them out. We do not say that word. That's not a word we use. Why is that? Why am I so emphatic on that? And why am I so passionate about not having that word in your mindset? It's because of what I shared earlier with my mother. She didn't allow it. There was no can't. You don't say it. It is like you can do anything. Now, realistically, I'm 5'9" and 44 years old. I cannot go. I literally physically can't go dunk a basketball, right? So there are some physical barriers or some things that you physically cannot do, right? It's just not going to happen. But I'm resourceful enough to figure out ways to do things, right? I want to go dunk a basketball, go get a little trampoline, I'll jump off that and dunk it, or lower the rim to 9 foot. I can be resourceful enough to problem solve and figure out how to accomplish whatever the end goal is. But just to say I can't. So, for example, around my house, and these are examples of like kids seeing, to think of the aquarium, think of the fish tank and a glass barrier or divider being there. So one of those could be JJ coming into the kitchen and saying, "Dad, I need a plate." Okay? Get a plate. I can't reach it. I literally won't even acknowledge that word. I'm going to walk out of the room if I hear that. And he knows, both of my kids know why I don't respond to that. I'm either not going to respond or I'm going to give them a lecture. But at this point, they know my lack of response means you just said the word. And when I walk away, you better figure out how to do it. Not, I can't. So the barrier is he sees, the glass in the fish tank of that plate is above the counter. I'm very short. I can't get it. Instead, that's what he just said. Instead, you figure out how can I. So how can I is right over there in the corner is a little stool. Go get that stool, put it there, step up, climb up on the counter if you need to, grab the plate, get down. If you drop the plate and break it, I do not care. I do not care if there's a mistake made because you were making an effort to do something you thought you couldn't do. That's one small example, but I do not care, again, if a mistake is made because you were making an effort to do something you thought you could not do. I do not care. So this goes, as I mentioned earlier, all areas of life. The barriers in life that we face, you can you can just be persistent enough to break them down yourself, or resourceful enough to figure out how to get around them or over them. Now that pike, he doesn't have arms. He doesn't have legs. He doesn't have the ability to talk to the human on the outside and say, hey, can you pick this glass up for me? So it's hard for him to be resourceful. So he's just got to be persistent. And in his case, it's just come back every day and see if that barrier's still there. And if he had come back that one day that the human picked the glass up, he would have gone and realized there was no resistance and eaten all those fish and been just fine. He didn't. He wasn't persistent. But relating that to humans, we do have big brains, most of us. And we do have resourcefulness, and we do have people around us or resources around us to help us get over and around and through and under and all these things, barriers that are in front of us, right? So many, too many, unfortunately, people give up before they try to think through things and figure out how to get around them. And then too many people, once they thought through it, or maybe they didn't think through it, they just give up on the effort, on the trying, right? And I'll make another analogy with my business, right? I've talked about this before, I think, on this podcast, but how we've been in business 3 years. We've been in business longer than this, but the lending company that we have has been around 3 years now. Early on, we had big goals, way bigger goals than we actually achieved. And we were being very persistent at our daily task and the things we needed to do to achieve those goals. We were not even scratching the surface. It was going real slow. So that was our glass wall in the fish tank. The glass wall being, and I apologize, I'm recording this and I hear a bunch of sirens outside of my office. So if y'all hear that, I apologize for that, hoping the mic doesn't pick it up, but now I've interrupted my flow. But anyway, in business, our glass walls early on were just things not happening the way we expected or predicted they would, right? So I would talk to all these potential investors and get all this interest, but nobody was actually wiring the money, right? So it was going real slow, real slow. I kept every day coming back and banging my head into that glass divider every day. And we were tweaking things a little bit here and there. Meaning like, I've tried this, let me implement this, let me do this a little bit different. But the only thing I knew to do with confidence is just to keep banging my head into that glass divider day after day after day. Because I knew eventually somebody was going to come along and that glass divider was gonna be pulled up. And it was. And all of a sudden I was swimming and I was getting less resistance. And I was swimming and getting less resistance. I started eating a couple more fish. I was like, all right, this is working. And then boom, it compounded, the consistency compounded over and over and over. Glass wall's gone. Well, we have other glass walls that, I mean, we always will in business, but nothing like that. And because of that ability to just keep coming back, where the pike turned around and went to the corner of the fish tank, Bill and I just kept pounding our heads into it every single day, over and over and over. Just like Dan Oliver, just like a lot of entrepreneurs, every one of them has some kind of story with a stroke of luck involved as well, but that required them to just physically, just mentally grind it out every day and slam into that glass divider over and over and over until either a stroke of luck came along and a human pulls it up, or they broke it down due to their persistence, or they dug under it, or went over it, or around it. But it all came through this willingness to just keep trying and this inability to quit. Some people, a lot of entrepreneurs finally break through after years and years and years and years of trying and just slamming their head against that glass divider because they're too dumb to know when to quit, right? So a lot of smarter people would have quit and say, this ain't working, I'm gonna go try something else. But I would imagine a higher percentage than not of entrepreneurs that have had good levels of success, however you want to define that, got there through a period of pushing past where most people would. Where most people would have given up, they were just going to keep coming back. You can't kill them. You cannot kill them. And I think of, every time I think of, like, you cannot kill something, and I'm not talking literal death, but I think of my son, JJ. Everything he does, and I love it, and I love the grittiness. I was, to some degree, this way when I was his age. He's got it 10x what I had. He won't quit. When he gets something on his mind, he is going to persist and just keep hammering away over and over. My daughter's got a little bit of this in her too, but they won't quit. And like baseball, for example, he's 9, but he's been a slow developer in baseball. He was always kind of, up until last year, was always kind of the kid that was tucked in the right field, and he'd rotate in and out of the dugout and stuff like that. And then last year, he was just small, didn't really have, he just didn't, he was not naturally gifted when it came to that yet. Well, last year, we started seeing signs of, like, okay, and it was because he wouldn't quit. He just plays all the time. He wants to get better, and he has a drive to, like, I don't care if you keep putting me in right field or at the end of the bench, I'm going to keep trying. I coached a lot of these teams that I was having to put him on the bench on, so that was tough as a father and a coach, but he persisted and kept on and kept on and kept on. And now fast forward to, last year, we started seeing some success. We moved into kid pitch, where the kids are pitching to each other in the fall. He started having a lot of success, hit the heck out of the ball in the fall, and started playing a little bit of infield, doing really well. And all the way to this year, because of his persistence, he hadn't stopped. You can't kill him. You can't make him give up. And now he is starting on the infield, batting leadoff on both his recreation team and his travel or Sunday select team. And he's worked to that. Now, he won't play in the major leagues. I mean, it's a very low percentage chance he will, but in his mind, he is not going to give up. He's going to keep trying and keep persisting. And he might, who knows with him, because he's that obsessive with things like that. But it's a great example. Like, you cannot stop him. You can't say anything to him to discourage him. Right now, if his coaches or if me were to pull him out of a game and say, hey, JJ, you got to get better before you get back in the game, okay. He's not going to like it. He's going to be disappointed, but he's going to go. He works harder in that yard by himself without me even doing anything than any kid I know. He really grinds away at it, and he's finally starting to see some results from that. So it's another example of a 9-year-old being like the Pike, trying and trying and trying. But unlike the Pike went in the corner. He's still trying and breaking through. So the Pike Effect. I love this idea. I don't like what the Pike did, right? But I like the idea of that's more common than not, unfortunately, amongst humans trying to get through and achieve goals, and the mentality of don't be like the Pike, right? Keep banging your head into that glass wall or figuring something away under it, around it, through it, whatever, or just keep doing it until a stroke of luck comes along. Again, the Dan Oliver and COVID, right? That came along. Let's say COVID wouldn't have hit. I'm gonna hammer this one more time. Let's say COVID would not have hit in March of 2020. Dan wouldn't have quit. He would have kept persisting until something happened. He would have broke the wall down eventually. 100%, because he had done it like the 5 years prior, trying to get to some point. He didn't quit. So, all that said, think about areas in your life where you might either have given up on banging into that glass divider, or you're every day right now banging into that glass divider and you want to give up. Don't be like the Pike, right? Be like JJ. Be like Dan Oliver or Dano. Keep slamming your head into the wall. Keep thinking ways around it and above it, and keep doing that until something breaks through, right? Now, there's nuance here. There's some things, if you're trying them, you might want to lean on some resources, some mentors, some coaches and stuff like that. If it does come to a point where like the way I'm doing it is just not working, then that's figuring out a way under, around, or over the glass divider, right? Use your resources and be resourceful in that sense. And be aware enough to know, like, all right, this might not actually work out the way I'm doing it, but it doesn't mean it's not going to work out. You got a goal, freaking go get the goal, right? And figure out how to do it. Don't say you can't, and don't go tuck away in the corner and die. So that's where I'm going to stop it this week. Appreciate everybody following along. And I look forward to talking to you guys next week. Have a great one. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Burning the Ships. I want to give a special thanks to our sponsor, 608B Capital, helping real estate investors secure fast, reliable funding to fuel their boldest moves. If you're ready to take your investing to the next level, visit 608bcapital.com to learn more. If you found value in today's episode, please take a moment to rate and review the podcast. Your feedback not only helps us improve, but it also helps us reach more people who are ready to burn the ships and commit fully to their goals. And don't forget to share the episode with someone who needs that extra push to take bold action. I'll leave you with this. Burning the ships isn't just about removing the option to retreat. It's about unlocking the courage to charge forward. No matter the odds, the past is behind you and the future is yours to conquer. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time on Burning the Ships.